1. Acolyte mode. In Acolyte mode, the Infinite Songbook is a kindly teacher, allowing beginners to learn an instrument at their own speed in easily digestible bits, remembering that interest and fun are very important motivators to help us spend more time with a given instrument. Begin by tuning up. Use an electric tuner or a tuning fork. As a beginner, it's not completely imperative that you understand exactly what's going on here, but having an instrument that's in tune when you're a beginner is a very important thing, because otherwise it will never sound good. And it sounding beautiful is a pretty good motivator for you to keep exploring the capabilities of that instrument. So again, very important to be in tune. The standard tuning for the guitar is E, A, D, G, B, E. The ukulele is G, C, E, A. The mandolin is G, D, A, E. And the banjo is G, D, G, B, D. But these names aren't really important right now for you to remember, except for, again, you want to be able to tune your instrument to have it sound really nice. Our brains have different networks of activity which process reality in their own idiosyncratic ways. And the general tendency while learning music is to use the naming and numbering part of our mind. This is not wrong, it's just not the greatest starting point. I have realized that there's another processing part of the mind that I call the Medula-jam-I-gotta. And that is a part of the mind that is more visual, spatial. It is a brilliant pattern recognition savant that has no need to name anything. So let's use this as a starting point instead, so we can foster flow and creativity to fan the flame of fun to learn a new thing. Nylon strings of a classical guitar and a ukulele are easier on your fingertips for a beginner, but metal strings are louder. Over time, calluses should start to form, making it easier to play for longer durations. Start by exploring the anatomy of your instrument by playing one string at a time. Then maybe try randomly pressing down on a spot on a fret to make that string shorter and to make a different note. On the piano, it's much easier to produce a beautifully sounded note. Make sounds. Try to understand what is happening. Listen to the way that the tone generated is vibrating the atmosphere around you. Explore the situation with your awareness. Now begin by playing a single note like a drum. Use a pick, or don't. Choose a tempo and store it in your bobbing head. Play out a groovy beat on that note. All musical instruments are drums, so pianos and strings can be thought of as complex drums of many tones. Add another note or two to the cycling drum beat by pressing down a different spot to create a different tone to drum. Create visual shapes on the fretboard. Play one, skip one. Make a square. Loop your new song with consistency. There you go, jamming. And that really is the essence of it. But these 5 instruments are complex and can make chords, which are made up of multiple sounds harmonizing. For example, a C chord has a C in it at its root, but it has other notes, an E and a G, which highlight and complement the C. Just as there are only 12 notes and their octaves possible in our music system, there are only 12 chords, basic major chords, possible in our music system. In Acolyte mode, chord cards are simply used to teach you these 12 chord shapes. So let's isolate one of the 2 major suits, the spirals. Let's pull out the 12 spiral cards, and from those 12, pull out these 5 cards: A, C, D, E, and G. Once you can sound a chord, listen to its power. Let it ring. Then try to learn another chord. Play it with rhythm and try to strum it. Learn to play these chords one at a time in whatever order seems best for you. These 5 chords are going to get you about half the way there, maybe further than half the way there. Try to play it as cleanly as you can, and then strum it and try to play it like it was a drum. And you'll find you can use parts of your palm on your strumming hand to mute it if it gets too ringy out of control. You can also kind of throb the pressure of your fingers when you're pressing the chord, and that can also help to mute the strings. So once you can dance the chord around with a little rhythm, you can jump around to a different chord with rhythm, like you did with the single string, but now you're doing that same thing using chords. And as you learn these 5 chords, it gives you more points, more chord transitions you can jump from one to the other. Fun and creativity drive learning. Again, to read chord brackets, see the vertical lines are strings and the horizontal lines represent the frets. The guitar symbol shows 6 vertical strings. The ukulele has 4 vertical strings. The mandolin 4 double strings. And the banjo has 4 strings, sometimes 5 with bold edges, differentiate it from the ukulele. They'll always appear in that same order: guitar, ukulele, mandolin, banjo. Look at the 7s suit, and I have little drawings of each instrument with blow-ups and then the chord bracket, so you can kind of use a little detective work and figure out if you forget which chord brackets are which. Okay, the topmost horizontal line in a chord bracket represents the nut, which I've made slightly bolder than the other frets on the chord brackets. Most chords begin here, but if a chord begins on a fret further up the neck, it will have a tiny number next to the bracket to indicate which fret to start on. These will be basically most of the harder barred chords. The circles on the brackets show where to press your fingers to produce that particular chord. Looking closer, one can read the note produced by pressing in that location. Or if it's behind the nut line, it will show the note created by that open string. Of course, one should strum or pluck the strings of an instrument to produce a chord. Usually, it's all of the strings, but sometimes a string is omitted. If that string is omitted, the chord bracket will show a tiny X to tell you not to play that string. And for now, ignore the other stuff on the cards. So look at the other 7 cards in the spiral suit and do the same thing to familiarize yourself with those chord shapes. Most bar chords are derived from one of those 5 chord shapes you've already learned, with the bar behind it, with the nut artificially placed behind it by the human capo. Your pointer finger becomes the nut, and then you play a familiar shape further up, and that is the barred chord. You'll see that various instruments prefer different root chord shapes for their barred chords. The guitar really likes the E shape and the A shape. The ukulele likes its C chord shape and its A chord shape and its D chord shape and G shape. A lot of bars for the uke. The mandolin likes its C chord bar and its F chord bar, and maybe arguably others. The banjo loves the G and the F and maybe the D shape in its bars. Once you're ready to move on, learn some basic variations on those 12 chords by adding the spiral suits back into the entire deck and shuffling it. Then draw a single card from the deck. If it is a play card, marvel at its clunky esoteric strangeness and draw again. Repeat the process by drawing another card and then play that new card on your instrument. At any point in Acolyte mode, one is encouraged to take time to play these learned chords rhythmically and build your own songish patterns by oscillating these chord forms from one to another. Undergoing this process will take time, discipline, awareness, but it's worth it. It is not necessary to learn every chord in this way.
But the next phase of the game is undertaken in the flow of time, which waits for no one.